Hello, Namaste. I welcome you all to the 79th session of GURUBODHA. This session is brought to you by easyayurveda.com. I dedicate this and all of my works as the holy feet of Dr. H. Chandrasekhar Udupa. This class is made live exclusively for weekly class subscribers of Easy Ayurveda. If you want to subscribe, please go to easyayurveda.com/video-classes. First topic is regarding the pay scale disparity between Ayurvedic and allopathic doctors. It is becoming, recently there was the case came up with the Supreme Court and it declared that Ayurvedic and allopathic doctors are not entitled to equal pay. And while we honor Honorable Supreme Court's decision, it is the Supreme Court and whatever they decide, we just follow that. While we do not want to counter or bring any contempt towards this order, let me just open this platform for discussion. This is in no way, by bringing this matter up in a public forum, we're in no way trying to contempt or to condemn Honorable Supreme Court's decision. This is just for the sake of comparison of workload and the status of Ayurveda doctors in both public and private sectors. Just to give a little bit of brief, the Supreme Court on Wednesday held, this is April 26, that practitioners of alternative systems of medicine such as Ayurveda are not entitled to equal pay with allopathic doctors. They are not involved in performing emergency duties and complicated surgeries. So this is the initial observation made by the Honorable Supreme Court.
So in this, we need to understand a very specific case which is brought in front of the Supreme Court. We need to just to go back into the details of this case. As far as the information I got, this is a case from Gujarat where the two set of doctors appointed by the government of Gujarat on a similar notification type entitled for equal pay, equal salary part of it. And in due course of time, the people who are joined to the service under this one, the allopathic doctor, they started getting regular pay hikes, whereas it was not so in case of Ayurvedic doctors. Then these Ayurvedic doctors approached the court basically to have an equal pay scale. And they won the single bench case at Gujarat. Then that is went to the double bench of High Court of Gujarat. There also it went in favor of the Ayurvedic doctors. Then it went to Supreme Court. In that, maybe the double bench of the Supreme Court has notified or given a verdict in a different manner, wherein this case started from way back from 2013. This is the list of duties performed by both the type of doctors. The table has been provided by the government is just to showcase that we can't afford to give equal pay. To highlight that they are given a wrong projection of what these people can do or what these people cannot do. This type of comparison. So based on that, the Supreme Court might have taken such stands. But of course, everywhere against this zone, people have shown their anger and they are returned to the concerned authorities to look into this matter. But it is very wrongly projected in the papers and the media that Supreme Court has decided that Ayurvedic doctors and allopathic doctors are not not entitled for equal pay. But it is against its own verdicts given earlier on some other occasions, where they very clearly says article particular number 14 or something like that, it entitles for equal type of work, equal pay, and they are upheld that those things. But suddenly in this matter, why they have taken a other side of the aspects, it's God only knows, and it is right now holds only good for that particular case which is in front of the Supreme Court. It cannot be treated as a corporate verdict for everywhere. It is not so. The disparity in pay was there all over India in every state government. There is a difference, but only in certain areas where, particularly in Rajasthan, Gujarat and those areas, there was an equal pay for both the type of doctors. So, but now in that particular case, it has been taken vice versa. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, in that court ruling, many observations were made, saying that setting aside a Gujarat High Court order, the top court said that emergency duty that allopathic doctors were capable of performing and the trauma care that they were able to provide could not be performed by Ayurveda practitioners. So, difference of duties and responsibilities in terms of emergency duty care, and it noted that even post-mortem or autopsy is not carried out by Ayurveda practitioners. And it again goes on to say that it's nothing to demean the allied or alternative medical sciences. This is just specific to this case. We have no doubt that every alternative system of medicine may have its pride of place in history, but today the practitioners of indigenous system of medicine do not perform complicated surgical operations. A study of Ayurveda does not authorize them to perform these surgeries. Similarly, postmortem or autopsy is not carried out by them, so on and so forth. So while this looks a little bit depressing, Raghuram sir, I would also argue at this juncture that we should take it sportively and we should make it, we should up our game in terms of like Ayurveda practice, and we should improve our horizon, bring the best of Ayurveda to the forefront directly to the public, so that more and more practical aspects of Ayurveda are shown to the public, emergency care, postmortem or whatever. Acharya Sushrita was the first one to do this cadaver study, anatomical structure study on a dead body, and that is all well documented. While this looks a little bit depressing, it is also an opportunity for Ayurveda practitioners and Ayurveda community people, all the stakeholders of Ayurveda, to step up and take it as a challenge and prove ourselves.
This is, as Gururaja sir rightly pointed out, this is one of its kind, like a one case wherein the verdict has been given. As you rightly pointed, we don't have any intention of giving it contempt or insulting the Honorable Court's decision. And coming to whether we are going to take it sportively or not, so we have been in the game since longer than any other science. Like even if we tell modern science, we have been in the game of healing even before all the sciences started. So probably we are the best stakeholders to claim that we need an equal status or an equal remuneration. So that is there. And how long, many people might feel how long this waiting game and how long the disparity. So we may take it sportively, we may try to raise the bar, but by the time we raise the bar of the other sciences may be little more. So they are also trying to raise the bar. So this will, when it is going to come to the balance, a point of balance or x-axis, so we don't know. We are fighting on how far we jump on the x-axis towards the positive side of the y-axis. And when we raise the bar, so they may raise 2 bars. When we raise 2 bars, they may raise 3 bars. And when is that meeting point, and the point of equity will come into the question, and when Ayurvedic doctors will be considered. Of course, there is no doubt Easy Ayurveda is one such platform, Dr. Hebbal. As you rightly said, we have been putting, there are so many teaming up with us, so many resource people with us now. And we know a lot of people who are putting their hearts out, brains out, souls out, and all the senses, kaya, vacha, karmana, they are trying to do each and everything possible. And even the research works are going on. And one question may come into the minds of the people. As you said, it may be a depressive point. Why me? This question is always there. Why me? In spite of doing all the good work and just trying to do our best in the healing science, we are giving the results even in some rejected cases. But as you said, the other angle, the other perspective of this, where the research, where we need to raise the bar, is going into the research of each and everything, the conceptual research, the medicine research, the research in the formulations, they're being done. But how do we get it to the notice of the higher authorities? That is the big game. Now, who is the decisive authority? Here a state authority has taken a decision, and that particular state has given a particular verdict. This may be universal tomorrow. This may be applicable to the, so one state does something, the same thing will be done by the other states also. Taking it as an example, we know the judiciary, it will be taken as an example. They quote examples in the court, and they tell this state has done this, Gujarat has done this, Uttar Pradesh has done this, Delhi has done this. We have 3 cases. That is why Karnataka is also going to do that. Telangana is also going to do that. So this setting an example in some courts and court decisions will further damage what we can call it as to our reputation. However far we try to raise our bar and try to come to that particular status, and we show ourselves in the arena that we are here to fight and we are good fighters and we have really done good work, maybe better than the other sciences also in these particular cases. So probably the acceptance, where is the point of acceptance, where is the panel which considers both? Like we see what we can call it as Insaf Ki Devi. So in the courts we see the blind woman standing there with the tarazu or the balance in her hand. It is imbalanced. So where does that balance come? Who is going to judge this neutrally? So this is one state, it is okay, but if that sets an example for the other states, it becomes a game changer, and it is not far before national verdict is given that the disparity is definitely there and these people are doing better than the Ayurveda doctors, and that is why the pay scales will be definitely low. I definitely cannot comment on these things, again respecting the governments and also the judiciary and everything. This is a painful thing, as you rightly said. It is damaging to the reputation. The point of balance is not seen. It is a distant factor. Even if we strain our eyes, also strain our vision also, it is very difficult to see at some point, even in future, after our generation elapses and some other generations come, they're fighting for this and finding the balance. It is a difficult scenario to visualize right now. Can't comment totally on this, but I feel, yes, as you said, it is a depressive point. We, as they tell, no, keep on working hard, the fruits, as the Lord Krishna also tells in Bhagavad Gita, keep doing your good work and the results are on. So we will follow that particular verdict, if not the court's verdict from the Bhagavad Gita verdict. We will believe in the karma, keep doing the good work, and hope that some of our Ayurveda people in distant future, because of all our hard works, can reap up those fruits and enjoy the fruits and be in a state of balance with the other doctors. This is what I feel.
The typical arguments were held even among the closed circuits of doctors based on this particular verdict. They were of the opinion that in any college, a teacher who will be teaching the languages will have a less effort to be teaching, whereas when compared to the subject which is taught by the science teacher or a maths teacher, whether the government is going to pay a different type of scales for these teachers? No. Based on their cadre, their salary will be given. Then why the same is not applicable to teacher? I mean, the Ayurvedic doctors, when they are equally taken on a uniform notification with the same scale pattern and everything, once you will be giving now hike and everything and perks based on the laid on parameters for one section, and you are denying the rights to the other section, then it is a difficult thing. But moreover, one important thing what I observed in this thing is, I don't know how they take it, these things. The case is same, arguments are same. At the lower court, the decision by the judges is favoring somebody, and in the double bench it is favoring the same persons, but it goes to a higher court, Supreme Court, where there is a difference, and in the next double bench, it goes contrary to the primary three observations by the three benches. If a similar thing happens in case of a doctor will be those doctors who have denied the lower level, or who initially treated the cases, will be literally beaten up by the people because you missed the diagnosis. But here in this case, what do you treat for these things? What do you consider these things? When the lower courts are given a verdict based on the same evidences and same arguments given in favor of one persons, and in the higher court it gives against them with the same arguments and same evidences without adding any new thing to that. How can these things then happen? And we accept this as Supreme Court. But similar thing happen with a doctor, then he will be beaten up. So this is the total disparity with the doctors. Then in that also, it is with the Ayurveda doctor. It's a very pity part of it.
And I still feel that so lack of awareness is one part, probably not particularly in this case, like whoever thinks Ayurveda as inferior at least should try visiting an Ayurveda doctor, having panchakarma, or at least having a massage and esteem some time to enjoy the benefits, compare them with what Ayurveda literature says, whether it matches or not, or at least collect publicly available data of how Ayurveda doctors and practitioners across the globe are bringing a positive change. The least that we can expect is a level playing field.
Absolutely, sir. See, also Gururaja sir rightly pointed out, we can even see an unknown frustration in our own voices as we are discussing this topic. There is pain, there is frustration. It is coming out maybe in different what we can plateaus. We can call it as some soft, some harsh words. So probably yes, uniform playing ground I accept. And recently we have discussed a similar such topic where we were discussing about one voice. So when do the Ayurvedic fraternity, be it teachers or the doctors or whoever it is there, we have classified them into two categories. Gururaja sir also rightly said, one teaching Sanskrit, one teaching Shalya or Kaya Chikitsa. There may be a disparity. That should not be there. Clinical and non-clinical subjects also we were discussing. Why do you call it as a clinical and non-clinical? Without learning Padartha Vijnana, I cannot understand Charaka Samhita or Sushruta Samhita. Without understanding them, I cannot go and practice. So these are all interlinked. Without learning what Dravya Guna, the Dravyas and Rasa Shastra, Vaishya Kalpana and all those things, I cannot know about the formulations. How do they act? So everything is interconnected. And when do we have a one voice like Ayurveda doctors all coming together? So because there should be unity in our own system. For example, this is a pitiable thing where even during my graduation days, Ayurveda doctors used to go to the villages and what they used to do is practice allopathy. And we also have a lot of nursing homes and also modern hospitals where a doctor is hired as a duty doctor without even seeing whether the person is BAMS, MBBS, homeopathy or what. And go to many hospitals and see modern hospitals, our own kids who have graduated from what we can call it as Dari Tappida Maga anta heltevalla Kannadadalli. So like they don't have a particular pathway where to go, no guiding force, like they don't have platform like Easy Ayurveda to guide. I'm not boosting ourselves. We have been doing this. We have been guiding students and other people in a channelized way. So when there is no guidance, what they do, what to do next after graduation, immediately they have to earn. So they join some hospitals. Some people are also doing without rest, morning duty 8 hours, afternoon duty 8 hours and night duty 8 hours. They're not even taking a room for rent in cities like Bangalore. They're spending the entire day in the hospitals. Where? Modern day hospitals. And who are you? Ayurvedic doctors. And test their knowledge. They will have a better knowledge than the surgeon there. So because they are have done so much service and they're minting money like this. So these are some small things where a big group of Ayurveda doctors who are graduated from the institutions are diverting from coming into the practice and giving it back to the science. Yes, we learn from science, we have to give it back to the science. When are we doing that? Teachers are doing that, platforms like us, we are doing that, doctors are also propagating Ayurveda. So one voice should be there and one unity should be there. And how does that form? Who should bell the cat? So is a very important question. The belling the cat can be programmed on a table, but who will bell the cat? It is a very difficult task. So there should be like leaders in each state, probably each districts combined together. A state force should be done. All states unite together and one voice shout it loud, give it loud. We want an equal status. Otherwise, pen down. So I may be very harsh. Pen down. So if it is done, so modern doctors go for a strike and do all the things. See, doing a surgery or not doing a surgery is not my problem. I am an Ayurveda graduate or a postgraduate or have completed my PhD in Ayurveda and I am practicing Ayurveda. I cannot hold a weapon. I cannot hold an instrument and go on and tell that I am going to do the surgery. We are denied that. So there is a denial because we belong to a different system. Cat, rat, elephant, tiger, snake, frog, they cannot run in the same race. They cannot run in the same race. If cat and mouse are running in the same race, cat will eat the mouse obviously before winning. So what are we up to? The competition is there and there needs to be the acceptance of the fact and we need to join hands. A big force in future, maybe it may take decades for the entire Ayurveda to come under one wing. Like we have typical examples. Recently, our Abdul Karim sir also was pointing out the first conference in Ayurveda which was held. All the Ayurveda doctors assembled in a particular place, and that was Tatvidya Sambhasha. How to get this thing to the common folk? Like there is a source of knowledge. We are the bridge. We take the knowledge and give it to the people. We are doing this like this. If we can, there are so many conferences, CMEs, and all those things happening. Why don't we have a conference where the entire fraternity of Ayurveda meets under one roof, one big damn roof, and discuss how to fight out for the equality? Where are we less in comparison to the other people? So it goes on. If this goes on, Ayurveda doctors who are graduating now from the institutions, they will lose courage and they will start feeling let down. They will feel collared down. they cannot proudly tell. Now itself, so many Ayurveda graduates are fearing. They have a shyness to tell that I am an Ayurveda doctor. So many people. I tell in my classroom to the students, first of all, be proud to tell that. They go to their villages and towns and they tell that I am a doctor. Where is the prefix Ayurveda? Be proud to tell that I am an Ayurveda doctor, I am doing so and so. Present your cases. Make those cases reachable to the highest possible platform. So if these things are done, this is only ifs and buts. But if it ever comes into the reality, maybe we may be the game changers easier, whether we never know. We are discussing this topic. We may initiate that process also. We also have leaders like Gururaja sir. So many other thought processes. If a small initiation streams up into a big oceanic concept where we can raise a voice, it is not a fight. It is not an objection. It is not criticism. It is not what we want to go against the verdicts. It is only fighting for our status. It is not wrong. Equality, Constitution gives equality, and equality shall be everywhere. We may call ourselves as Vaidya, but we still are doctors. Everybody who treats a patient, Swasthasya Swasthya Rakshanam, Aturasya Vikara Prashamanam. Every system has this goal borrowed from Ayurveda. As long as we are doing this, we deserve equality. So otherwise, it is a painful thing.
I just wanted to bring in a different argument or a viewpoint. And I think this is a dual issue of awareness and confidence. Allopathy is considered evidence-based, and it has come up with a structured way of communicating that evidence base. And I was wondering if that is something that Ayurvedic doctors would consider coming up with. Secondly, I want to suggest building a national Ayurvedic clinical database where you put in all the cases, all the successful cases and also not successful cases, and make it a library of cases where people can actually take out the data, mine the data, and conduct studies and publish the data in peer-reviewed journals. And the other thing is simplifying the terms, which Easy Ayurveda is already doing, because most of the people get deterred by Sanskrit words. That's what I have been noticing, talking to my friends, my peers and all that, and they call it ancient because it comes from Sanskrit. I understand this is a very immature argument. Therefore, the other thing allopathy uses is technology. For example, if you can add the use electronic medical records in Ayurveda, to be abreast with technology. And that is another way to convince people that, we are contemporary and we are, this is a legitimate science that we are doing. And the fourth thing is taking help of some speakers like Rajiv Malhotra or Sai Deepak and asking them to, working with them to help people understand Ayurveda, because they're such good speakers and are able to communicate the information. And then maybe also Easy Ayurveda can set up that conference Dr. Raghuram is talking about. And definitely, sir, it should not be taking decades, but it should be taking a decade.
These are really great points. I especially liked taking the help of celebrities like Sai Deepak ji, who has been instrumental in spreading the message of ancient sciences and Hinduism in particular.
Vasanta Reddy ma'am has been mentioned several points which are there in my mind actually, how to develop that and how to do the research. After doing research, how to be present actually. Whenever I will take classes, I will insist the students, especially the post-graduations, after the completion of post-graduation, whenever you will practice, collect that data, even including in a single case. Please make it and collect and present that data and submit to be see everyone, because nowadays in modern what the people will do, whatever it may be, they do invention, whatever it may be comes as a research part, they will immediately publish and make it popular as like that. Everybody can be use it and understand the subjects. But this is another lackna is there in our peoples. We will never share. That is a big drawback. I saw so many doctors, the big doctors in all over India. But when we come to, we'll go near them to try to be asked how it is going to be possible. But they're never going to be reveal their experience, especially. That is another drawback for us, for Ayurvedic people. I feel personally. And another thing Dr. Raghuram sir has said, that I accept the and I respect the Supreme Court order also. And along with that, sir mentioned that in the race, cats are there, mouse are there, dogs, everyone is there. But why we should feel that lower to them? Why we should be? Because everything is there in our science. If I given one small example, the neurosurgeon, the first neurosurgeon is there in our classical, Dr. Acharya Jivaka. He is done the first chronotomy, the classical. Some of the references are there in the history of Ayurveda, where he did the first chronotomy and he did the neurosurgery. Why we will think that we are having a lacuna in us? Yes, I accept that we have a lacuna, especially as I seen in the practice in medicine level, in therapeutically we are equal to them. But in the place of surgeries, especially in the anesthesia section, we are having a major. And if that section has been developed, definitely this is the major drawback. I think that in Ayurveda, that is the anesthesia part. If anesthesia part has been developed from the past itself only, we are the leading practitioners, especially in the case of surgeries. This is my opinion, and Vasanta Ma'am has been mentioned several points how we should able to be published, how we should make it to be collect, and especially easier with doing the best work in these cases, especially as I see. And I'll definitely appreciate for them, and thank you for doing it.
I totally agree with Dr. Karim, but what I wanted to say is Ayurvedic researchers should kind of use some structured study designs, which I had put in the chat, like retrospective study designs. If you have a database of cases, it is easy to pull similar cases with, those are that are homogeneous, and be able to analyze the data and publish. So that is one way that they can do. And again, I want to reiterate the importance of electronic medical records to be developed by Ayurvedic doctors so that the data can be put together in a structured manner. And that is definitely going to help with publishing the data.
It all comes to, like, keeping emotions aside, Dr. Vasanta Reddy is stressing upon. The proof is always in the pudding, and we had to come up with clear medical record, clear clinical research database to prove our points. That's the only way probably going forward. Let's go to the next topic. There was a discussion in in our group, came up from yesterday's class in relation to finer aspects of Draviguna. For example, simply saying Kandugna or Kushtagna doesn't really help us choose the herb for a certain skin disease. Textbooks also do not go into details. Is it something that just comes with experience? Example, can you tell in relation to Brihati and Kakamachi? I think both are told as Kushtagna or useful in skin disease. Gururaja, this is a common problem. Even with, say, simple Vatahara. Vatahara, for example, can mean to relieve bloating. It also can mean to relieve constipation. It can also mean useful in neurological cases to relieve muscle pain. It can also mean, say, useful in paralysis. So terms such as Kushtagna and Kandugna need to be defined in all possible ways by Draviguna experts, and it will be laid out so that we know the context of these terms in relation to specific herbs.
Definitely, one needs to understand certain things here. Acharyas have clearly given out a general perspective for any particular group of drugs with a heading like Kandugna. It may have 10 drugs in that. So they have, out of the entire materia medica, they are given specifically 10 drugs, means they are comparatively higher or perfect or good in their action, in particularly with the Kandugna effect or Kushtagna effect. But when it comes to a very specific thing that we need to understand what exactly the diagnosis is, what exactly the involvement of doshas, what are the doshyas, what is the most annoying complaint of the patient, whether it is a pain, whether it is a oozing, whether it is a itching, whether it is a discoloration. We need to very specifically for the context, we need to approach. And we know that there are certain times it takes much of your energy to find out which is the right kind of drug. If we can give you a number of suggestions that what you can take it when you are practicing in India, but when you are practicing abroad, many times you will have a lot of other restrictions of legal restrictions in your area to practice certain drugs or use certain medicaments like even the mineral drugs. So all these needs to be taken care of. For example, you are given a Brihati and Kakamachi, which is the best one. The best one as a Kushtagna is Kadira. Kadira is Kushtagna. That is the first one. Then Nimba, then Panchatikta. In that, if it is there, then okay, no problem. When those things are not available, then you can go about it. Moreover, when a condition is giving a Kandu as a particular symptom, then very clearly Kandu is due to Kapha. So we need to understand when a drug which is typically Kaphahara in nature, that should be taken. Then which is the best Kandugna in that needs to be taken care of. So then it is, you have to take it as a Tinduka, or it may be Paranayavani, or it may be Nimba. So depending upon the type of the condition, accordingly we need to select. It may be one Haridra. So these things are Kandugna in nature. So typically when we are trying to find out a particular Lakshana in a given disease, involvement of doshic nature is to be analyzed, assessed based on that, because of what reason it is coming up. See, whenever there is a kleda increased in the body and kapha involvement in a particular given condition, then there will be that kleda increases in rakta and rasa, then there is a chances of causing kandu. Then you need to select such a drug which is comparatively ruksha and it is kaphahara and kandugna. So that combination you need to select. For that, turmeric is the best one. So like that, we need to concentrate on each and every condition. It may be even Vata drugs. Vata, we can simply say it's a Vata Vikara. Whether it is due to increased Ruksha Guna of Vata, there is a disease manifestation. Whether it is due to the increased Lagu Guna, there is a manifestation of disease. So we need to understand these things. If increased Rukshata is the one important criteria, then we need to select something which is very snigdha to nullify that Vata, particular Lakshana Vata. Similarly, if it is Lagu Guna is causing a concern here, then we need to go for a selection of a Guru Guna Dravya, which is Vata Shamaka also, as well as it contains Guru Guna. So such type of understanding needs to be done while selecting a drug.
Yes, sir. And it's also important for any Ayurveda practitioner to know really the at least basic pharmacology of individual herbs and medicines, what they commonly prescribe. And as much as we want to generalize, or if we want to put all the aspects out there for students to understand, it is also responsibility of the student or the doctor to develop their own experience-based understanding of herb, then practice. Even if, say, how neem acts as Kandugna or Trifla acts as Kandugna, if the Raghuram expert writes of explains it in 10 different ways, lays out every detail, there could always be a 11th, 12th or 15th way in which can act. So while day in and day out, when newer the Raghuram textbooks, everything is coming out, it as much as it is happening in one place, in another place we have to we have to develop our own things. Not all things can be penned down.
See, for example, in case of a Kandu, it is always due to Kapha, and that too with the Kleda Guna increase there. So when there is an increased Kleda Guna, then we need to go with such a thing that can reduce our Kleda. So for that, we usually select something which is Ruksha to nullify that. So here, the best Ruksha is turmeric, then followed by Nimba. But at the same time, in order to reduce the kleda at a particular level, which is oozing out in the form of a vicharchika or something like that, and the patient is going on scratching, and as far as that is a oozing is there, the Kandu will be there. So in order to overcome that, instead of directly giving something which is going to reduce these things with the help of its Rukshata, we also give a drug which can induce Virechana, like Haritaki. If you give directly that drug, that deviates the kleda from that direction to in a different direction. So thereby the kleda will reduce in that place where it is giving the trouble. So this is the way we need to understand how better we can manage the things. Moreover, another important point is, whenever a disease manifestation is in front of you, try to understand its doshic combination and try to evaluate its modern part of it, then find out what is the exact reason, where we can place it. For example, a patient with increased IgE may come with a complaint of severe itching. You go on giving any number of dravyas, he will not be satisfied, because we should understand that what is a sadhya, what is asadhya, what is yapya, which can be controllable, all these aspects of a disease. So if you understand the sadhya sadhita of the disease, then accordingly select a drug, then accordingly by trying to make the vigatana of the samprapti, then there will be result. So that pinpointing understanding that needs to be, of course, you will learn it by, you will get a confidence by practicing on some patients. When you achieve the success, then you can understand as a pratyaksha pramana, you will better understand that. But it requires some sort of experience. And of course, many times by making some faulty attempts, you will get the experience to select what exactly the right thing to be done.
Thank you there, sir. Dr. Rajnikant Patel, right. A deep reading of Samhita daily is must to understand and to choose specific herbs in specific disease conditions. It all comes to studies finally. For example, Tagara herb is normally prescribed, we use it in insomnia, but Acharya Charaka has mentioned it in many times in Visha Chikitsa. He also explains, just use Sagara and Visha Chikitsa. According to me, we need to read Samhita on a daily basis. Everything, every point is mentioned in Ayurveda. Each time we read Samhita, every time we learn new things. Same applies to selection of herbs also. So to combine what Gururaja sir has said, take the help of modern pharmacology to understand the disease and also how the herb acts, and also read Samhita as probably a good combination. Reading of different nigantus can also clear our doubts, Dr. Rajnikant, for the rights. Not all herbs detailed description explained in Brihati. In such cases, Nigantu reading is also a must. I always remember Nigantuna Vina Vaidyo shloka explained beautifully by Gururaja. Can you please explain that, sir? Importance of Nigantu?
Nigantuna vina vaidyo vidwan vyakarana vinah abhyasena chadanashkastrayo hasyasya vajanam. Without the knowledge of Nigantu, if Ayurveda practitioner practices, then definitely he is going to fail. Similarly, Pandita of literature should know the Vyakarana, the grammar. And if he doesn't know the grammar, then he is always going to make mistakes. Similarly, a fighter or a soldier needs to know how to use the weapons. If he doesn't know, then these three people, it may be a doctor, it may be a Pandita, it may be a soldier, they don't know their basic work, their understanding, then they are subject of law in the society.
Taking those two examples itself, Gururaja sir and Dr. Rajnikant have clarified many things. So here we need to see both these herbs are from Solanaceae family, so like Brihati and also Kakamachi. That gives us a scope for further exploration whether all herbs belonging to the Solanaceae are used for Kandugna or not. So here there is specification. When we go through the Brihati and also the Kakamachi benefits in the shlokas, we find Kushta being mentioned, which specifically Kandu being mentioned in the Palashruti of Kakamachi. Okay, so here what I want to tell is we need to take an expansive ideology of understanding this particular thing. Number one, why our acharyas have written without specifying whether in what conditions of itching it should be given. Probably because of the easy availability of Brihati and Kakamachi in and around the Guru Shishya Parampara, where the ancient schools were there. So probably that was taken. Why they did not prefer any higher things like Kusta or Aragvada or whatever. The acharyas have mentioned them also, but why specifically Brihati has been brought into this particular context? Why Kakamachi is brought into this particular context? We need to see those small herbs which are grown in and around the ashrama or somewhere. So probably this is an hypothesis. They were easily available and immediately they were used for experimentation on some cases. Continuously they were giving results. Probably that is why they have been documented. Number one. And when we see through the Palashrutis, I was just going to the Kakamachi here. So there are many conditions in which Kakamachi has been, its use has been mentioned. So like, let's take for example, this one, Shwasa, Kasa and Kasa. So these two examples, and Kushta, it has been mentioned. So does it mean that Kakamachi and Brihati should be considered in all skin diseases may not have itching, but wherever itching is predominant, Kandu is predominant, we have to take these particular herbs. So probably that was one indication. And probably, see, Shula, Arsha, Shofa, Doshagni, Kushta, Kandu. So many things, so many diseases have been mentioned in the Palashruti, Hikka, Charpi, Rudroga. So in these particular conditions where itching occurs as a secondary symptom, very importantly, we need to see secondary symptom, not as pradhana. So itching is only a symptom. It may reflect something happening deep inside. It may not be a part of the skin disorder. For example, a liver disorder may come up with itching. Jaundice may come up with itching. Okay, so especially if a Palashruti of a particular herb, Pandu is there and Kandu also is there, we can correlate in the same context. Like a person with Pandu having Kandu, Kakamachi or Brihati may be preferred. So this is the hypothesis we need to create by reading the Palashruti, connecting the disorders there. How exactly one particular herb given in one condition can subside its secondary complaint. So among the Palashruti where there are many diseases mentioned, some may be a predominant presentation and some may be the sub-presentation, like a secondary complaint. So in all those complaints which are mentioned in the Palashruti, if they come with the Kandu, so probably this needs to be considered. Somewhere Rasayani has been mentioned, Hrudya has been mentioned. So we need to correlate those particular terms when it has been mentioned. So this Kakamachi and Brihati being used as Kandugna, it is a different context. We also need to see why different acharyas have probably given different herbs. So probably it is due to the evolution. So whatever was the best during their particular practice or particular era or the clan, so they used those things as predominantly. Even going to the diseases, we can see Mahashwasa, Urdhva Shwasa and Chinna Shwasa. These are the three types of Shwasa which are said to be asadhya in Charaka. Okay, so Kshudra Shwasa can be treated, Tamaka Shwasa is Yapya. So three main Shwasas are incurable. But when we come to a later period after Charaka Samhita, like Lagutrayes and all those things, even in Vaishyaja Ratnavali and other treatises, there are some formulations which are given for specifically for Mahashwasa, Urdhva Shwasa and Chinna Shwasa. So does it mean that the later acharyas were contradicting the theory of what Charaka and Sushruta has said? No. So it is only because of the evolution they found better herbs, better mineral components, then learned how to combine them in a different way, what were available. Some herbs which are available during Charaka's period might have extinguished at the time of maybe when Vaishyaja Ratnavali was written or Yoga Ratnakara was written. So whatever was available there, they experimented with those things. So one person's Kakamachi may be replaced by somebody else's some other herb. So we also need to see through the evolutionary process, many herbs have been changed. So and whatever was available in that particular era have been highlighted for those particular complaints. So these are only the hypotheses I just wanted to touch in regards to these examples.
I would like to add one point over there, what as a hypothesis Dr. Raghuram Shastri was telling about. We cannot closely placed drugs are from the same family may not be behaving in a similar fashion. I'll give you a best example. Tinospora cardifolia, Tinosporia malabarica. Tinosporia cardifolia gives a very good effect on the liver, whereas Tinocardia malabarica, the Padmaguduchi, they are going to cause damage, as it is already observed, Pratyaksha Pramana. So that's what with the name of Tinosporia malabarica, that bad name has been scrapped on the Tinospora cardifolia. So that's the reason. May not be the thing that everywhere the closely related family members of a particular species and family will behave in a particular direction. But there are many occasions where, particularly for example, Piper longum and Piper nigrum belongs to the same family. Most of their functions are similar, except to certain areas where it is differs. So like that, we need to understand each and every plant. It may be from the same family or may not be from the same family. The other point is, very clearly, if it is a best Kandugna, Acharyas definitely have mentioned Kakamachi or Brihati as the best Kandugna. But very clearly, the best Kushtagna or Kandugna has been given to, the credit is given to some other drugs. So after assessing all those drugs, then only the Acharyas they have said which is the best Kandugna, which is the best Kushtagna. So we need to understand that whenever something said as a best, which is best among the category which can able to perform a particular condition or an action, Kandugna action. So we need to understand in that way. Of course, Brihati and Kantakari or even the Kakamachi, definitely they have their own role to play, but very typically, as Raghuram Shastri has said very clearly, that Kakamachi is more good in any conditions are associated as I mean, Kandugna, Kandu type of Lakshanas associated with liver disorders due to the liver condition. So in those conditions, definitely Kakamachi would do better because Kakamachi has a better role to play on even the liver. It can detoxify the liver. So thereby detoxifying the liver, it also reduces the pitta. Thereby it also removes the dravatva from the pitta, which in turn also removes the drava from the kapha. So thereby it may be helping in reduce the kleda and reduce the activity of kandugna. So like that, there are plenty of actions or narrations can be given, but typically selecting a particular drug, it comes from experience many times.
Like sir, Gururaja sir, if we have a Kusta condition wherein Kandu is predominant, so do we make a choice of a Kustahara and try to break the Samprapti and also try to see that the symptoms wane on? Or since it is Kandu predominant, the patient has come with severe itching, I would prefer Kakamachi, or because it is a Kusta, I would prefer Kadira or Aragvada. So what type of choices we need to see when we are especially using these Ekamulikas or when we are focusing on these things? How do we assess what should be the choice? So in Kushta with itching predominant, so what do we use as clinical practitioners first?
See, very clearly we need to understand certain things. We should not restrict ourselves that I will be doing only Ekamulika Prayoga, I will be using only Rasadravyas, I will be using only yogas. That is not our choice. We need to select which is the best suited for the condition. The first thing is Rogamado Parikshetam Tadanantaram Aushadam. First we need to understand what is exactly the dosha, what is exactly the condition, what is the history patient is giving, since how long it is there, how intense it is. All these things will narrate. Then try to observe the symptoms and even the clinical data you try to collect. Then finalize whether it is Bahudoshaja avastha or Alpadoshaja. If it is Alpadoshaja, then you can go for a Langana, Pachana and even Shamana type of chikitsas. If it is a Bahudoshaja, then it needs to be removed from the body to give the instant results. Then better to go for something like Virechana or Vamana to reduce the itching. So based on these parameters, the drug selection criteria should be done. It is not that I should restrict myself, I have to give to only single dravyas. No, there is no restrictions. There is no need to restrict yourself to give only a single dravyas. If single dravyas are sufficient enough to give the results, then why Acharyas have mentioned about so many yogas? Yogas has its own role to play. So that's why it is typically our own way of practice or our own restrictions are plus points that we are trying to select the drugs at certain times. But our point of agenda or our intention should be very clear that I need to select a drug based on the condition of the patient, which requires what. If the condition requires Shodhana, then I should go for the Sadhyo Vamana or Sadhyo Shodhana or even a classical Shodhana. If it doesn't require that Shodhana, only Shamana would do, then definitely we can select the drug which is best according to the system prevailing. The medicines available with me at Bedjan, which can be easily procured. It may be single dravya, it may be a combination. That is the best way of handling things.
That was exactly my point, sir. So where I wanted to point, I was not focusing on the use of a single herb. The question was, is Kakamachi and Brihati, which have been mentioned, they are Kandugna as single herbs or Kandugna in formulations? Why I mentioned when we are using the single herb or Ekamulika, it is only because they have been specifically mentioned as Kandugna. So do I consider Kakamachi as a part and parcel of a formulation which relieves Kandu and Kusta, or Kakamachi as an individual ingredient? What is this context? Like Kakamachi is equal to Kandugna, is it Ekamulika, or is it as a part of some formulation, wherever in whichever formulation it is there, it can relieve Kandu? So that was the actually the idea of the question.
So that's the reason I said if it is very typically Kandugna Dravya, the number one Dravya of Kandu is the Kakamachi, then definitely Acharyas would have mentioned in the same manner. But we find it something different. Kushta is number one, somewhere even Kadira has been number one for that. So there are some better drugs for that. But while describing the quality and the context of a particular drug, what the capability of the drug, while trying to explain that, the Acharyas explained all these things. They are Kushtagna, Kandugna, they can do this one, that one. Which is with respect to the particular drug and its panoramic action, what can it can induce. Selection of that according to the situation required, it is entirely our yukti. So that we need to plan, and that planning comes from, of course, by Samhita Adhyayana, something from the Guru Mukhena, and certain things from the experience.
So probably, sir, I also feel so since Kandu may be the symptom of many other conditions, as Ayurveda basics tell about the Roganidhana also. When we break the Samprapti, the symptoms related, they're only the branches which branch out from a disease proper. So when we abort a disease process through Shodhana, Shamana, or whatever it is there, the Kandu also will go away. If it is a part of Kushta, it will go away. If we address liver issues, the Kandu will go away. So no need of individual prescription or separate prescription. Since Kakamachi and this Brihati have been mentioned as Kandugna, my thought process was going in that particular way. So probably was it an indicative of symptomatic treatment? Ayurveda has mentioned Roga Pratinika, Lakshana Pratinika Chikitsa, and many more things. So here when we come to those things, so probably Dashemani also, which has been mentioned by Charaka, they're specifying to particular symptom or particular complaint. So was it more of a symptom? So like, so when I don't have time to go into the deep Samprapti and try to analyze why the person is having Kandu, the best thing is the person is having itching. Let me give Kakamachi or Brihati in some form and try to relieve the itching, and let me think over the Samprapti later and try to bring in Kushta or some other formulation and try to handle the disease and break it by its roots. So what's your thoughts on this, sir?
See, first of all, we should not jump into the prescription writing the initial time, because I don't have time and I should not analyze these things. No, you need to analyze it. It may be a shortest time also. You need to analyze which is a striking complaint of the patient and what exactly the things are there by looking at the condition. For example, in case of Vichachika, patient having Vichachika, the lesions are there, the oozing is there, but he is very much worried about the itching. He will be complaining that give something that can reduce my itching. The itching can be reduced, but disease will still remain same. The oozing needs to be suppressed, and even the discoloration and the ulceration should go off, and many things are associated with that. So we need to understand that what best drug can be selected even at the shortest time. When patient comes to us, then accordingly we treat it. If we are unable to understand a condition, many times, because it so happens is when we read our Samhitas or anything, then we will get a understanding that how to treat Prameha, how to treat Ushta, how to treat something like that. But in practice, we get such a classical examples. Single patient is already a diabetic, suffering from skin conditions, is also having hypertension, is also having kidney disease, multiple things will be there. Then what should be the drug of choice? Then that's why we need to understand that whatever we read in Samhitas or other, it's only a baseline or understanding that how we need to go. Then accordingly corroborate these things typically in a way which is required. So that's why we should not jump into things and something that I will give it in the initially, then I will think of later. No, we should not do like that. We need to assess it and accordingly try to select the best drug, and with an explanation that why you are using that drug, you make yourself confined or very clear that I am using this particular drug in this condition for the intention of getting expecting this particular result. Then accordingly you will have a confidence when the result is achieved. So we need to, otherwise then they'll whatever the data, clinical data we present, they will say that it is anecdotal. It may be a placebo effect. It may be something. No, that should not happen. No. Why I am selecting this drug, for what condition I am giving, and what is my expectation out of this, at what time, maybe 7 days, maybe 10 days, maybe 15 days, I am expecting this to happen in this way. Then only we can understand exactly we are thinking in the right direction and the selection was, the drug was right. So we need to understand, no need to hurry, no need to jump up. We need to select a peculiar and a best drug suited for that condition for that particular person.
No, I totally agree with your explanation, sir. So my question still remains the same. Kakamachi is equal to Kandugna. The question debate actually started from somebody asking this, why there is no specification. The question is Kakamachi is equal to Kandugna and Brihati is equal to Kandugna. Are they indicative of the explanation of symptomatic treatment in Ayurveda?
Definitely, when there is a Kandu there, I may have a choices of selecting many drugs. I may have a choice of selecting turmeric. I may have a choice of selecting Nimba. I may have a choice of selecting Patola. I may have a choice of selecting Brihati, Kakamachi. Whichever my choice, I will go for it. But on what basis I will select the drug? Based on the Acharya's preaching. But Acharya, when they are explaining a particular drug, they said it is Kandugna. But whenever they are explaining the Kandugna effect, they listed out something different. They given weightage to some other drug as a number one. So we need to understand that. So whenever Kandugna has been explained, which is the drug which is given number one position, number two position. That needs to be taken care of in that sense. But while explaining each and every drug capacity, say for example, what Dr. Gururaja is capable of doing. I may be a runner. I may run 200 meters. I am capable of running 200 meters. But I cannot come as a first because there are so many people who can run faster than me. But it is my capacity. Even I can also run 200 meters, even 400 meters. But doesn't mean that I should be selected whenever there is an issue of that. Similarly, when there is a Kandu, it doesn't mean that I should select only Brihati or Kantakari. And I don't have a peculiar top drug or the staple drug, then whatever choice is available, I can go for it. But doesn't mean that they should be treated as equal to Kandugna. No, they are capable of acting as Kandugna. That we should understand, because this is the Kandugna information regarding particular those drugs as explained with respect to their individual capacity of pharmacological actions, the explanation. But they are not listed out when particularly Kandugna as a group they explained it. So when they are explaining Kandugna or Kushtagna, Vishagna, Archogna, they are listing a number, the top Agradravyas are different.
Points before we end the session. Dr. Abdul Karim writes, I too agree with Dr. Raghuram sir and Dr. Gururaja sir. I think Kakamachi is one of the best Yakrut Uttejaka in many liver diseases in which itching is there. Kakamachi is probably the drug of choice with associated with itching. And
the same way, the Brihati and Kantakari, as we know that it is the best drug of choice for the upper respiratory tract infections. In that cases, anywhere the itching is there, in that conditions, maybe the Brihati is one of the best choice for the Kandugna, as the same as Kakamachi is the best drug choice for the liver. Like that, Brihati is also one of the best drug choice for upper respiratory tract. So in those conditions, they are going to be might act as the best Kandugnas.
yes, sir. I mean, what you're trying to say is that from where the Kandu itching is arising, whether the a particular herb in question is addressing the underlying condition or system, a liver versus the respiratory system. Dr. Rajinikanth Patel writes, according to Acharya Charak and Sushruth, we should not focus on qualities of individual herbs while using medicine which contains multiple herbs in it. We should only think about qualities of specific herbs when we use single herbs in treatment, not while using classical medicines which contain more than one herbs. This is very true. In a combination, how an herb acts versus how the herb acts when it is used as a single herb in a specific disease, they are entirely different. And as Rajinikanth sir has quoted, there is also a quote from Charaka, if I'm quoting it correctly, that in a combination, individual herbs role guessing may not be a good strategy. With that note, let me conclude this session. See you in the next session. Namaste.